What if the moment your eyes open isn't the start of your day, but the instant you erase your infinite potential? Right now, in the quiet space before your mind names your worries, you exist as pure possibility field of every version of yourself waiting to be chosen. Today, we're reclaiming that sacred gap between sleep and awareness, where your breath holds the power to rewrite reality itself, and where the smallest shift in your posture can reroute the course of your entire life. This isn't about chasing motivation, it's about recognizing you've always been the architect of your becoming, standing in a universe that bends to the frequency of your presence. Feel that? The weight settling in your chest before you've even stretched. That's not the morning. That's the echo of yesterday's collapsy choice made in the blink between waking and remembering who you're supposed to be. Most of us surrender that moment without noticing, reaching for the phone or the worry like an old habit. And in that split second, we're back in the same skin, the same story, the same small room we've been rebuilding all our lives. But what if you are not meant to be a single, fixed self? What if you contain multitudes, every version of who you could become, all humming with possibility, right here, right now, waiting only for your attention to pull one forward? Physics confirms it before observation. Reality exists as a wave of pure potential. When you look, it becomes solid. Your life operates on this exact principle. The moment you notice your fear, it hardens. The moment you name your worth, it takes root. You are not a passive witness to your story, you are the conscious force collapsing possibility into form with every breath, every glance, every flicker of thought. Think of your first moments each morning, the fragile space before memory floods in, before your name feels heavy, before the day's demands claim you. In that gap, you are free. Utterly unburdened by yesterday's failures or tomorrow's anxieties. You are simply awareness, wide open, holding all that you could be. And yet, most of us slam the door on that freedom in seconds. We remember the email we didn't send, the argument that stung, the debt that looms, and just like that, whoosh, we're back in the same narrow channel. The body reacts instantly, shoulders tighten, breath shallows, the nervous system floods with the same old chemicals, as if it's running a program etched deep in its bones. This isn't identity, it's a reflex, a habit so ingrained it feels like truth. But you were never designed to live as one frozen photograph. You were built to exist as infinite potential, ready to step into any version of yourself with the simple act of shifting where you place your awareness. Here's the raw truth: your body doesn't distinguish between past trauma and present reality. It only knows the frequency you're broadcasting now. When you think the thought "I'm stuck," your cells respond as if the walls are closing in. When you feel the old shame, your heart races as if the criticism is happening this second. Why? Because you're not just observing your life, you're actively constructing it through the lens of your attention. Your biology takes its marching orders from your focus. The quantum field doesn't care about your story, it only responds to the signal you're sending. Every time you revisit yesterday's hurt, you're conducting a measurement, collapsing the wave of possibility into the same painful shape. Every time you whisper, "I'm not ready," you're tuning your system to scarcity, and the universe mirrors it back to you. But what if you changed the channel, not through grand declarations, but through the quiet revolution of how you hold your body in the first moments of dawn? Tomorrow, before your feet touch the floor, do this: place one hand on your heart, one on your belly. Breathe in deep through your nose, slow, steady, filling the space beneath your ribs. Breathe out through your mouth, longer than the inhale, softening your jaw, releasing your shoulders, letting the tension flow down through your arms. Do it 3 times, not as a ritual, but as an act of rebellion against the automatic collapse. In that space, don't reach for a new identity. Feel it. How does your most expansive self breathe? Slower, deeper. How do her shoulders rest? Open, not guarded. How does her heart sit? Anchored, not racing. Don't imagine it, inhabit it. Let your posture become the vessel for the frequency you choose. This isn't about pretending. It's about rewiring. When your body shifts, the signals to your brain shift. When those signals shift, your emotions reorganize. When emotions shift, clear thought becomes effortless. You don't force positivity, you create the biological conditions where peace becomes your natural state. This is where freedom lives, in the micro pause between stimulus and response. Most of us miss it. It's thinner than a heartbeat, but it's always there. When the alarm sounds, when the email arrives, when the old fear whispers, there is your sacred window. Fill it with the automatic reflex of I can't, and you collapse into yesterday's self. But pause. Just one conscious breath. Ask quietly, how would the woman who already knows her worth respond here? In that breath, you've switched channels. The event hasn't changed, but the one meeting it has. You're no longer pure momentum, you're a conscious chooser. Superposition isn't a one-time decision, it's your birthright to choose again, and again, and again. Each breath is a reset. Each return to stillness is a recalibration. You don't need dramatic emotional peaks. Seek the steady hum of calm, for it's in stillness that the water reflects clearly and the mind sees truth. They'll tell you the world is too loud for this. That chaos doesn't allow for choice. But pressure doesn't remove your power, it only shrinks the pause. And that's exactly why we practice. By stretching that tiny gap between stimulus and response, you reclaim space where none seemed to exist. You find freedom in the eye of the storm. There you see it even in the same situation. Multiple intelligent responses are available. The difference is only which self you bring to the moment, the one drowning in reactivity, or the one rooted in calm. The one seeking validation or the one embodying it. Whichever you select, your energy broadcasts that signature, and life rearranges itself to match. This isn't magic, it's physics. The universe doesn't care about your affirmations if your biology is still tuned to lack. It responds to the frequency you're actually emitting. Habits aren't built on grand resolutions. They're woven from thousands of micro-choices. One day of aligned breaths, one day of pausing before reacting, already bends your trajectory toward a new life. The foundation isn't in words, but in the quiet command of your body. When you soften your gaze, your nervous system receives the signal it's safe to open. When you lengthen your exhale, it hears there's no threat here. You stop piling willpower on top of exhaustion and build a sanctuary in your own form. From that calm center, choices flow like water, no battles, no force. Just natural alignment. This is sustainable transformation. Not the kind that burns out in weeks, but the kind that becomes your bones. Don't wait for circumstances to shift before you choose. Choose first and watch the world rearrange itself around your new frequency. Don't wait for inspiration to strike. Inspiration follows action like a shadow. The morning is your most potent laboratory. When you begin by aligning your breath, your posture, your inner state, you set the tone for the entire day. You don't drag yesterday's gravity into today's light. You meet the world as someone new, even if only in the quiet of your own awareness. And when you drift, and you will, because this is practice, not perfection, simply return. One breath, one adjustment of your shoulders. Press the reset button back to potential. Choose again. By nightfall, you'll notice the subtle shift, a conversation you didn't have before, a decision made from clarity. An opportunity that appeared from nowhere. You became a different version of yourself simply by changing where you placed your attention. This is your sacred experiment. Every dawn, a new universe is born inside your mind. Will you step into freedom or slide back into the same worn path? The choice isn't made in some distant future. It's made in the breath between waking and remembering who you're supposed to be. You are not a single, fixed story. You are a living field of possibility, holding every version of yourself in perfect balance, waiting only for your gaze to bring one forward. Your awareness is the instrument. Your body is the anchor. And this moment right here, right now, is where you decide which version of reality will unfold. Don't search for miracles outside yourself. You are the miracle, already present in the rise and fall of your breath, in the quiet power of your choice. Live from this truth, and life stops being an unconscious loop. It becomes conscious creation, a symphony, where you are both the conductor and the song. Step into today not as someone seeking, but as someone remembering you've always held the pen. Write boldly. The first sentence is already forming in the space between your last exhale and your next. Feel that space between your last exhale and the next breath waiting to rise within you. That's where the magic begins, my sister. Not in some distant, perfected future, but right here, in the quiet pulse of now. Let's breathe together, deeply and slowly. Breathe out slightly longer through your mouth, letting go of any tension you're holding without even realizing it. Do it again, feeling the release travel down your spine, softening your shoulders. Once more, emptying your lungs completely, creating room for something new to enter. Now, close your eyes if it feels safe, and call forward the feeling, not the image, not the words, but the pure, wordless sensation of the woman you want to embody today. Sense the quality of your body, the lightness in your limbs, the openness blooming in your chest like a flower turning toward the sun, the steady rhythm of your breath, the gentle softness in your gaze as if seeing the world with fresh wonder. Don't think it, feel it. Let it settle into your bones. Now, stand as that woman. Feel your feet rooted firmly on the earth, receiving you, supporting you. Take your first steps as her. Move with her grace, her quiet confidence. This is where your day is truly born. Those opening minutes, when the world is still hushed and your mind hasn't yet grabbed the reins of yesterday's worries, hold immense power. When you align your body and your breath with the woman you choose to be before the day grabs you, everything that follows flows with a different ease. It's not about forcing the day to bend, it's about setting your own inner weather so the external world reflects your calm. You will drift, of course. The old patterns are deep, etched into your nervous system by years of repetition. A single thought about a looming task, a familiar worry whispered by your mind, and you feel the subtle tightening in your chest, the shallow breath, the return to the weight of yesterday. This isn't failure, it's the signal. It's the moment to remember your power. When you feel that shift, that familiar pull back into the old frequency, don't chastise yourself. Don't fight it with white-knuckled willpower. Instead, press your reset button. Return to that breath. Return to that posture. Feel your feet on the ground. Breathe out longer, making space. Inhale the stillness. This is how you reclaim your superposition, the infinite potential waiting within you, uncollapsed by the limitations of the past. Choose again and again. By nightfall, you'll notice the subtle shift. You spoke differently in that meeting. You paused before reacting. You opened a door you'd always walked past. You became a slightly different version of yourself, and the world responded in kind. Circumstances didn't magically change, your frequency changed, and reality rearranged itself to match. Don't wait for the grand inspiration to strike before you choose. Choose first, with your breath and your posture, and the inspiration will flow to meet you. Don't wait for the external world to shift before you dare to change. Choose your inner state, and the world will realign. This superposition, this state of pure potential is your birthright, not some mystical privilege. It's the natural state you wake in every single morning before your mind has a chance to label you. Yet most days we collapse into the old story before our feet even touch the floor. We wake in infinite possibility, but within seconds, we observe ourselves through the lens of yesterday's exhaustion, tomorrow's anxieties, the familiar weight of who we think we are. And just like that, the wave of possibility collapses into the particle of the same old pattern. The cycle repeats, automatic, unconscious, a song your body knows by heart. You don't even have to try to feel that morning tension, your body does it for you. A single fleeting thought about the day ahead, and stress compounds flood your system. Your heart rate quickens. Your breath turns shallow. You've collapsed back into yesterday's frequency before you've even brushed your teeth. This isn't about your circumstances being difficult, it's about the speed of this automatic process. Your body remembers more than your conscious mind ever could. It holds the energetic record of every joy, every fear, every reaction you've ever had. Without conscious intervention, it can only recreate what feels safe, what it knows as survival. Think of the double-slit experiment, how particles behave as waves of possibility until observed, then snap into a single state. Our lives operate on the same principle. The moment you observe yourself as tired, as anxious, as not enough, reality collapses into that exact state. You do this hundreds of times a day without awareness. Every familiar thought, every repeated emotion is a choice, unconscious, but a choice nonetheless that collapses you into a specific version of yourself. Here's the crucial truth: this collapse happens before you consciously decide. Your body has already chosen for you. It's loyal to the patterns that once kept you safe, even if those patterns now feel like chains. It fears the unknown safety of peace, the unfamiliar terrain of joy, because to your biology, the familiar, even when it's painful, is synonymous with survival. So even if your mind dreams of freedom, if your body hasn't learned to feel safe in that new space, it will pull you back again and again. This is why sheer effort often fails. Reading books, setting goals, repeating affirmations, they touch the mind, but the real battle is deeper. Before thought even arises, the body has already pre-programmed the feeling. Your mind will simply follow the chemical trail laid down by your biology. When you understand this, the struggle makes sense. You're not just fighting mental habits, you're facing thousands of cells that remember exactly how you've lived, feared, and reacted for years. They're more loyal to that memory than you are to your dreams. True awakening doesn't happen when you think a new thought. It happens when you witness the old cycle starting without jumping in to participate. That's your power, the simple, profound act of awareness in the very first moment the pattern begins to stir. Imagine hearing a song you love, then realizing it's the same song playing again for the third time. You don't need to smash the speaker, you just lower the volume. Slow your breath. Feel the air filling your lungs, the steady beat of your heart calming. In that quiet gap, the old pattern loses its grip and a new choice can emerge. Have you noticed a specific pattern that keeps repeating in your life? That moment of panic before speaking up. The automatic judgment that follows a small mistake. The way you shrink before asking for what you need. Don't try to change the whole pattern at once. Start by noticing the very first flicker of it. The minute your shoulders tense, the instant your breath hitches, the split second your mind whispers, "Here we go again." That's the quantum moment, the point of collapse. Only when you see yourself returning to the old identity can you consciously choose to stop. If you don't notice, you'll live your life on autopilot and call it freedom. Your body isn't the enemy. It's a loyal guardian protecting what it knows. So instead of fighting it, teach it. Show it through repeated, gentle action that safety can exist in peace, not just in anxiety. Safety can live in openness, not just in control. Every morning, before you reach for your phone or your to-do list, take just 3 minutes. Feel your body. Breathe as if calm is safe. Send a new signal to your nervous system: we are not in danger. We can breathe deeply here. Repeat this for days, for weeks. Your biology is listening, it's learning. And slowly the chemical memory shifts. Then, you'll notice the world shifting too, not because the world changed, but because the frequency you're emitting has transformed. The greatest trap is believing willpower alone can break these chains. Will cannot override automation without awareness. You cannot defeat instinct through force. You can only transform it through refined attention. When you learn to observe the pattern activating in your body, the tightening, the shallowing breath, the familiar knot of fear, you become the conductor of your inner symphony, not just a performer trapped in the script. You no longer wake up as the character in a pre-written story. Each morning becomes a conscious experiment. Will you collapse into yesterday's identity or into the emerging self waiting within you? Will you react as you always have, or will you remain still, letting a new frequency take form? Change begins in that first moment of awareness where you stop assuming you must be the person from yesterday. You start seeing that everything you've called I is simply the result of repetition. And when repetition stops, even for a breath, space opens for another version to step forward. From that point, you no longer force change. You simply stop selecting the old. Each pause, each conscious return to breath and posture weakens the gravitational pull of your former self. Like a pendulum losing momentum, it slows, comes to rest, and allows you to set a new direction. The law of collapse cannot be erased, only redirected. And the right to redirect it has always been yours. You can let it unfold unconsciously, or you can turn it into a sacred ritual of awakening. Your body is more than flesh and bone. It's a living archive, holding the chemical memory of every emotion you've ever known. Every joy, every fear, every heartbreak, every moment of peace has left its signature in your very cells. They don't forget. They reproduce the same chemical environment, so you keep feeling the way you did yesterday. When you say, "I want to change," your mind might agree, but your body holds back. It's not yet convinced. It still craves its familiar dose of cortisol, adrenaline, the old, known waves of stress. To your biology, familiar is safe, even if it causes pain. That's why motivation fades and you return to old habits, not because you're weak, but because your biology hasn't updated yet. Your nervous system is like an orchestra that's played the same song for years. Real change doesn't start with a new thought, it begins when the body starts hearing a new melody. But for it to listen, you must be patient enough to stay in the silence between the old sound fading and the new one beginning. That silence is the withdrawal phase. When your biology resists, demanding its familiar feelings, you might feel empty, restless, adrift. But you're not lost, you're in the zone of reconfiguration. Your cells are learning how to exist without depending on old compounds. When you stop feeding the chemicals of fear and self-doubt, they make room for the compounds of peace and trust. This is biological retraining, and it takes time. Science confirms that when you sustain a new state long enough, your nervous system forges new pathways. Neurons reconnect, building networks for new emotions. The key is staying present through the discomfort of transformation without running back to the familiar. Discomfort isn't a sign you're failing, it's proof the system is shifting. Observe what arises: a faster heartbeat, a tightening chest, thoughts urging you to give up. These are echoes of old patterns calling you back. When you face them without reacting, simply breathing and grounding yourself, your body learns a revolutionary truth: safety can exist even in uncertainty. You're teaching your biology to be calm in the unknown. That's where true freedom begins. Most people never pass through this doorway because they mistake the discomfort for failure, not recognizing it as the very expression of transformation. They return to old patterns to regain a familiar feeling and call it stability, when it's only the echo of repetition. To break the loop, you must give your body a new experience repeated enough times that it recognizes this new feeling as home. And the simplest, most powerful tool you have is your breath. When you breathe deeply, steadily, consciously, you send a direct signal to your nervous system. There is no threat here. We are safe. Your body lowers its alert. Hormones shift. A door opens for a new state to enter. Remember, your body responds faster than your mind. Don't try to think positive while breathing like someone afraid. Begin by breathing as if you are peaceful, calm, rooted. Let the mind follow naturally. See each day as a practice session, not a performance. See each uncomfortable emotion not as a setback, but as a chance to reset, to choose the breath again. No need to dissect the past. Just stay present. Observe your biological response. Adjust your breath. Do this long enough, and the chemical memory will shift. One day you'll realize the emotions that once controlled you have lost their power because they no longer have the internal environment to survive. This isn't wishful thinking. It's biophysics. Your cells communicate through electrical and chemical signals, constantly recording the energetic field you emit. What you call emotion is simply the translation of that current. If you maintain the frequency of fear, your cells align with the code of fear. If you maintain the frequency of peace, they replicate peace not through blind belief, but through new molecular structures. Your body has its own intelligence, and it's always listening to the signals you send. When you speak to it through the language of conscious breath, grounded posture, rest, and gratitude, it understands the program has changed. It begins to restructure itself from the inside out. So meet this morning, not as someone searching for miracles outside yourself, but as the miracle already present in the rise and fall of your breath, in the quiet power of your choice. Step into today as the woman who remembers she holds the pen. The first sentence of your story is forming right now in the space between your last exhale and your next. Write it with your breath. Write it with your stance. Write it with the unwavering knowing that you are not a fixed story, but a living field of possibility. You are the conductor and the song, the observer and the creation, the sacred experiment unfolding, one conscious breath at a time. The universe isn't born outside you, it's born within you, in the silent space where you choose to stand. Choose wisely, choose often, and watch as the world reflects the frequency of the woman you dare to become. The silence you feel isn't emptiness, it's the sacred space where your biology reconfigures itself. It's the moment your system, used to the familiar rush of old emotions, suddenly finds itself without its usual fuel. You might wake with a restlessness that has no name, a vague uncertainty that lingers like fog, or a sense of being unmoored without clear direction. This is the withdrawal phase of the body's natural resistance, when you stop feeding it the chemical signatures of fear, doubt, and self-criticism. It's not a sign you're failing, it's proof you've finally stopped reinforcing the old story. Your cells, which once depended on those familiar storms, are now learning how to exist in calm. They're making room for new compounds, the quiet pulse of peace, the steady hum of trust. This isn't a quick fix. It's biological retraining, a deep recalibration that happens in the stillness between breaths. Science tells us that when you sustain a new state long enough, your nervous system begins weaving fresh pathways. Neurons connect in new patterns, creating a highway for emotions you've only dreamed of. But the journey demands that you stay present through the discomfort. When your heart races or your breath shortens, when thoughts scream that you should retreat to what's familiar, this is the old program crying out for its fix. Observe it without flinching. Don't run. In that pause, you teach your body a revolutionary truth: safety can exist even in uncertainty. You're rewiring your very chemistry, showing it that calm isn't the absence of chaos, but the presence of something deeper. This is where true freedom takes root, not in the absence of discomfort, but in the courage to let it pass through you without defining you. Most never cross this threshold because they mistake the H of transformation for failure, not recognizing it as the labor of becoming. They rush back to old patterns, mistaking the comfort of repetition for stability, never realizing they've abandoned the doorway to their own liberation. Breaking the loop requires more than willpower, it demands a new experience, repeated until your body believes it as home. And the simplest key to this is your breath. Breathe deeply, steadily, consciously, not as an act of desperation, but as a quiet declaration of peace. This isn't about forcing positivity, it's about speaking directly to your nervous system in the language it understands. With each slow inhale, you signal safety. With each long exhale, you dissolve tension. Hormones shift. Defenses lower. A new state becomes possible. Remember, the body responds faster than the mind. Don't try to think your way into calm while breathing like a storm. Begin by breathing as if peace is already here, and your mind will follow, not because it's convinced, but because it's responding to the truth your body now embodies. See each day as a practice ground. Every surge of discomfort is an invitation to reset, not a reason to retreat. You don't need to dissect the past, simply stay present with what arises. Notice the heat in your chest, the tightness in your jaw, the old voice whispering, give up. Then adjust your breath. Just that. Do this consistently, and the chemical memory shifts. One day, you'll realize the emotions that once held you captive have lost their grip. They withered because you stopped feeding them. This isn't magic, it's biophysics. Your cells are in constant conversation, translating the energy you emit into chemical and electrical signals. What you call emotion is simply the language of this dialogue. Sustain the frequency of fear, and your cells align with its code. Sustain the frequency of peace, and they replicate it not through wishful thinking, but through tangible molecular change. Your body has its own profound intelligence, and it's always listening to the signals you send. When you speak to it through conscious breath, grounded movement, restorative stillness, and genuine gratitude, it understands the program has changed. It begins restructuring itself from within. You don't need to believe it will happen, you only need to practice it. After roughly 3 weeks, the biological tide begins to turn. A lightness emerges, not because the world has softened, but because you've stopped reacting to it the same way. This is the dawn of energetic autonomy. You're no longer a slave to chemical impulses, but a conscious creator who uses them as fuel. Understanding this, you stop blaming your body for holding you back. You thank it for its fierce protection and gently guide it forward. Transformation ceases to be a battle between will and instinct, it becomes a sacred reconciliation. The body learns to trust your guidance, and you learn to honor its wisdom. Every breath, every heartbeat becomes a reminder you and this vessel are one, co-creating reality with every choice. Once your biology updates, change flows like water heating toward its point of transformation. You no longer need to force it, it happens according to the quiet laws of your being. Consistency becomes your compass, awareness wider than any reaction. This is the biology of freedom, where the body is no longer a cage, but a quantum instrument serving the consciousness within. When you realize every cell is an observing particle and every thought a command, you begin treating yourself with a new reverence without force, without judgment, but with quiet guidance, knowing your body listens and responds in every instant. Let this journey be where science meets stillness, logic dances with sensation, and mind harmonizes with heart. Instead of trying to escape yourself, you become the gentle conductor of a biological symphony resonating with a new frequency. The sound you emit becomes the rhythm of an entirely new reality. Consider this: when you observe an electron, it instantly chooses a position. But when no one is watching, it exists everywhere at once. This isn't just physics, it's the blueprint of existence itself. The way you look at the world is the way the world becomes. Gaze through the lens of lack, and you collapse into a reality of scarcity. Shift to the frequency of abundance, and you step into expansion. Observation is never passive, it's an active command to the universe. Every thought, every glance, every emotion you choose is a measurement that determines which possibility manifests. That's why two people can stand in identical circumstances, yet inhabit entirely different worlds. One sees opportunity in the cracks, the other sees only the walls. You don't see reality as you see reality as you are. Your eyes don't merely record what's outside, they convert light into signals your brain interprets through the filter of memory, belief, and old patterns. Every time you look, you're not just receiving the world, you're projecting your inner landscape onto it. Reality isn't a mirror, it's a screen displaying the image you're broadcasting. Once you grasp this, you awaken to the raw power of consciousness. Observation is creation. You don't wait to see to believe, you believe to see. When you hold the deep knowing that you're safe, your brain sends harmonizing signals. Your body relaxes. Hormones stabilize. The world mirrors this inner calm with matching circumstances. But when you believe everything is against you, your heart constricts, your breath hitches, and your energy field broadcasts alarm. You magnetize experiences that confirm your fear, becoming living proof of your own perception. This isn't naive optimism, it's the physical mechanism of how consciousness shapes experience. Many think observation is passive, but in the quantum dance of existence, observation is the act of selecting which possibility becomes real. Each time you look at yourself, you're running a silent experiment in your life. You can see yourself as a particle, fixed, isolated, bound by time and space, or as a wave, expansive, connected, limitless. The way you choose to see determines how energy arranges itself around you. Notice how some people enter a room and the air feels lighter. They emit an open field of observation, seeing potential in every soul, and their gaze makes others rise. Others make the space heavy, observing through skepticism, their energy suppressing brighter possibilities before they can bloom. You cannot hide the frequency you radiate because observation flows from your entire electromagnetic field. The heart generates waves far stronger than the brain, and emotion is the most potent form of observation. Look at something with love, and you breathe life into it. Look with fear, and you drain its energy. The universe doesn't respond to your words, it responds to the feeling encoded in every glance and thought. You might say, "I am peaceful," but if your inner energy is clenched, the universe only receives contraction. To change your reality, you must begin with perception, because every action is born from a way of seeing. View yourself through the past, and you confine your future to the boundaries of what's known. View yourself through potential, and you unlock doors to what has never been. One life reacts to old scripts, the other creates from the raw material of now. Each time you see yourself through fear, you replay the same scene, and your body, fluent in that emotion, performs it perfectly. But if you're aware enough to catch that moment and whisper inwardly, "I can see this differently. I can find opportunity here," your brainwaves shift instantly. Your chemistry reorganizes. Your entire reality begins to rearrange. That's the moment you stop being illuminated and become the light itself. Once you understand that observation is creation, you awaken to the weight of every thought, each one a measurement, each emotion a command, collapsing possibility into form. You cannot stop observing, but you can choose how you observe. See the world as a battlefield, and you'll find only conflict. See it as a laboratory for the soul, and you'll discover lessons in every stumble. See others as threats, and you'll harden your heart. See them as mirrors reflecting the parts of you seeking growth, and you'll soften into understanding. Your power isn't in controlling outcomes, but in holding space with aware presence. When you look without fear, greed, or resistance, you return to the role of the pure observer, the starting point of pure creation. Reality cannot resist a gaze free of control. It must align itself with the frequency of peace. Remember, the universe doesn't hear prayers with ears, it reads frequencies through observation. Pray from lack, and you broadcast lack. Give thanks as if you already have, and you send abundance. Observation is the silent prayer of consciousness. You're offering this prayer thousands of times a day through how you see yourself, others, and life itself. So instead of declaring, "I want to change," begin by seeing differently. Try observing yourself as someone blooming, not someone broken. Try seeing the world as an intelligent network, responding to each beat of your heart. You'll find miracles aren't rarer there, the natural outcome of a new way of seeing. Then everything shifts, not just in your eyes, but in the very fabric of your reality, because your consciousness has issued a new command of collapse, and the universe immediately obeys. When you begin choosing differently, your body doesn't quietly agree, it reacts. It pushes back, clinging to the old frequency, but in that pushback, you have a choice: interpret it as resistance or recognize it as the birth pang of something new. This is where your strength becomes sacred. You don't suppress the reaction, you hold it with the calm certainty that you are safe within it. You breathe into the storm, knowing it's not your enemy, but the last echo of an outdated map. With each conscious breath, you retrain your nervous system to trust the stillness within you. You teach your cells that peace isn't the absence of chaos, but the presence of something unshakable. And slowly, steadily, the body learns to follow the lead of the soul. This is how transformation happens, not in dramatic leaps, but in the quiet accumulation of moments where you choose to see yourself as the creator, not the victim of your experience. You become the woman who understands that her gaze is a compass, her breath a reset button, and her presence a force capable of rearranging the world. The quantum truth is this: you are never just observing reality. You are co-creating it, one conscious choice at a time. So meet this moment not with the weight of what you lack, but with the quiet power of what you choose to see. Let your eyes become windows of possibility, your breath the steady rhythm of renewal. And watch as the universe, in its infinite wisdom, reflects back the reality you dare to hold in your heart. This is your birthright, not to endure the world as it is, but to shape it as it can be, through the simple, revolutionary act of how you choose to look. You've reached the moment where the light you've carried within no longer just guides you, becomes the very force that shapes the world around you. This isn't about passive enlightenment, it's about stepping into the active role of the one holding the torch. The profound truth we're uncovering is this: every time you observe, you're not merely witnessing reality or participating in its creation. Each thought you choose, each emotion you allow to settle within you, is a measurement that collapses infinite possibilities into the tangible world you experience. And this means you hold the quiet, immense responsibility for the reality you step into every single day. You cannot stop observing, for observation is the breath of consciousness itself. But you can choose how you observe. You can see the world as a battlefield where you must constantly defend yourself. Or you can see it as a sacred laboratory for the soul, a place where every experience is an opportunity for growth. You can view others as threats, or you can recognize them as mirrors reflecting the very parts of yourself that long for understanding and healing. When you shift your perspective, you don't just change your Mendy, change the frequency your entire being broadcasts, and the universe, in its perfect responsiveness, begins to reflect that new frequency back to you. This isn't about forcing the world to be different, it's about allowing it to reveal itself through the lens of your expanded awareness. When you truly observe without judgment, without rushing to label or conclude, you create space for the magic of possibility to remain alive. You don't need to control the outcome, you simply hold the space for what is true to emerge. Think of meditation, its deepest wisdom is in the simple instruction to observe without interfering. When you step back from the need to fix or change what you see, you allow it to evolve in its own timing. That alone has the power to transform the situation. Your strength isn't found in forcing your will upon the world, it's discovered in the profound power of aware presence. When you look at life without fear, without greed, without resistance, you return to your purest state, the pure observer. And this pure observer is the very starting point of creation itself. Reality cannot resist a gaze that is free from the need to control. It must adjust itself to match the frequency of peace you hold within. The universe doesn't hear prayers with ears, it reads the frequency of your consciousness through the act of observation. If you approach life from a place of lack, you send out the vibration of scarcity. But if you give thanks as though you already possess what you desire, you broadcast the frequency of abundance, and the world begins to rearrange itself to match that signal. Observation is the silent prayer of consciousness, and you utter it thousands of times a day through the way you look at yourself, at others, and at life itself. So instead of saying, "I want to change," begin by seeing differently. Start by observing yourself as someone who is blooming, not someone who is broken and needs fixing. See the world not as a random collection of events, but as an intelligent network responding to every beat of your heart. When you do this, miracles cease to be rare exceptions, they become the natural, everyday result of a new way of seeing. And then everything changes not just in your eyes, but in the very fabric of reality itself, because your consciousness has issued a new command, and the universe, in its infinite wisdom, immediately obeys. But when you begin to choose differently, your body won't quietly agree. It has lived by the same emotional formulas for years, believing that fear, worry, and tension are simply what life is. When you stop supplying it with those familiar chemicals, it perceives a threat. The restlessness, the anxiety, the deep discomfort that arise as you step into change, these aren't signs that you're on the wrong path. They are proof that you're finally stepping out of the old chemistry. It's like someone who has relied on caffeine for years, suddenly going without it. The fog, the headache, the mood swings are temporary withdrawal symptoms. Your biological system is experiencing a profound shift, asking itself, where are the usual hormones of fear? What is happening? If you don't understand this process, you'll mistake the discomfort for failure and rush back to the old self just to feel safe again. But comfort doesn't always mean you're on the right path, and unease doesn't always mean you're on the wrong one. True biological change always comes with trembling, not as punishment, but as necessary restructuring. Every cell, every neural pathway, every chemical reaction is learning how to exist without fear as its fuel. You might find yourself suddenly tired, unusually silent, losing interest in what once excited you, unwilling to carry the weight of heavy conversations. This is a good sign. When the body is no longer fed by drama and adrenaline, it needs time to learn how to live on the lighter, more sustainable energy of peace. Most people stop right here because they cannot bear the emptiness that follows the release of old patterns. They mistake stillness for losing drive, when in truth it is the calm charge before the system restarts. When an old energy pattern dissolves, there's a space between two frequencies, a quiet gap where the mind panics, because it has nothing familiar to cling to. But if you stay patient, if you don't run back to the old habits just to fill the void, you'll realize you're being recreated from the inside out. Neuroscientists call this synaptic rewiring. The old neural pathways that once carried fear and reaction begin to separate, creating space for new circuits of peace and clarity to form. It's this temporary disorder that makes you feel strange, disoriented, or even lost. But if you can move through this with awareness, you'll see that within a few weeks, your body begins to adapt, your endocrine glands recalibrate, your heartbeat steadies, your breath deepens, your reactions slow, and you start to feel a profound stability you never knew existed, a stability born not from constant stimulation, but from the natural flow of higher frequency energy. This is the peace that doesn't need chaos to prove it's alive. To help your body navigate this sacred transition, you need only two things: awareness and kindness. Awareness helps you see that the tremors aren't enemies, they are the language of biology, signaling that you're on the brink of a quantum leap. Kindness allows you to nurture this process gently, without force or judgment. When your body trembles, breathe deeply. Place your hand on your chest and whisper, "I am safe. I am learning a new way to live." This simple act isn't just emotional comfort, it activates your parasympathetic nervous system, lowering stress hormones and allowing the restructuring to flow more smoothly. Don't dismiss the power of speaking to your body. Science confirms that cells respond to sound frequency and intention. When you speak softly, with compassion, those vibrations travel through the water in your tissues, creating healing resonance. Transformation then stops being a battle and becomes a collaboration, a sacred partnership between you and your own biology as you move through the withdrawal from the old and establish a new emotional system. This process often takes about 30 days. The first 10 are withdrawal, where your body protests the loss of familiar chemicals. The next 10 are reconstruction, where new pathways begin to form. The last 10 are integration, where peace becomes your new baseline. If you stay conscious through this period, your body will no longer seek intense emotions to feel alive. It will find its vitality in balance, in the deep calm of being present. Then everything inside you begins to soften, and that's when energy becomes transparent. When your energy is clear, you no longer need to force manifestation. You don't have to strain to visualize or desperately affirm what you desire, because your steady state of peace itself is the magnetic field of creation. This field of quiet coherence draws experiences that match it effortlessly. Precisely. You no longer need to prove, affirm, or beg because your entire biology has become a living prayer. You're transmitting the silent signal that you've returned to center. No longer fighting life, but moving in harmony with it. When your body reaches this new state, you'll notice that what once terrified you loses its power. Situations that used to trigger you now pass like a gentle breeze, and you realize control is no longer something you chase. It has become your natural state. When consciousness and biology align, you don't need effort to become different, because you already are. That's the moment your energy reaches full coherence. Every cell vibrates in harmony. Your heart and brain synchronize. Emotions flow with crystal clarity, and miracles begin to appear not because someone granted them, but because your system is finally ready to receive. Change is no longer a theory you believe in, it has become the very architecture of your being. Looking back, you'll see that nothing outside has really changed, only how your body responds to it. Everything remains the same. You are no longer the same one meeting it. And that is the true definition of freedom. You don't need to escape the world, you only need to stop reacting to it the way you always have. Your body becomes your ally, no longer pulling you back to the past, but walking with you into the future. Every cell within you becomes a witness of awakening, and every breath is an affirmation that you have stepped beyond programming. When transformation reaches this stage, you no longer seek change. You are change. Every reaction, every feeling, every quiet moment is evidence of a silent biological revolution unfolding within you. And once you understand that, you'll never fear any tremor again. Because you know each resistance of the body is simply another lesson in expansion, another step toward living fully in the frequency your soul has already chosen. This understanding brings you to the most potent moment of the day, the first moments after waking. Morning is the sacred doorway between the world of pure potential and the world of form, between the infinite and the defined. The instant you awaken, before memory returns and your identity takes shape, you rest in the purest field of quantum superposition where every possibility exists at once, waiting to be chosen. Yet most people lose this sacred window within seconds. They reach for their phone, recall their name, their duties, their unresolved problems, and instantly collapse back into yesterday's version of themselves, repeating the same frequency, the same chemistry, the same sequence of reactions. If you wish to change reality, you must start from the point where reality begins. In the quiet moment before you remember who you are, when your eyes are still closed and awareness is just returning, pause inside that silence. Don't think. Don't remember. Don't define. Simply feel the breath moving through you. Feel life rising within, as if you're witnessing a new universe being born. This is the moment when you hold the right to choose the version of yourself you will collapse into. You can choose the old self, tied to worry and control, or the new one, guided by peace and clarity. This choice isn't made with words, it's made with sensation. Let your body be the instrument of observation, for it remembers emotion far faster than the mind. When you sense the highest version of yourself, don't try to draw it in detail, just feel its energy. How does it breathe? How do its shoulders rest? How do its eyes meet the world? Does its heartbeat feel calm? Then align yourself with that rhythm. Breathe as that version would. Sit up as that version would. Step onto the floor as that version would. Each small act, performed with awareness, sends a new signal through your nervous system, and that signal determines the frequency you emit for the entire day. When your body receives the command that this is the new state, it begins to adjust. Hormones, heart rate, biological responses slowly make it the default setting. By repeating this each morning, you're training your body to become the new self before the mind can pull you back into the past. This is the art of conscious collapse. You're not changing the world, you're changing the observer of the world, and the world automatically reflects that change. Throughout the day, you'll have endless opportunities to practice this conscious choice. When someone says something that stirs irritation, that's a moment of collapse. You can fall into the old reaction, the familiar rush of defensiveness or resentment, or you can pause, breathe deeply, and ask silently, how would my most aligned self respond? When you face challenges, when you feel triggered, when you're close to giving up, each moment is a test of whether you're truly choosing or letting the body choose for you. The difference between the conscious and the unconscious isn't that one has no problems, it's that the conscious one notices the moment of collapse. The conscious person watches themselves collapsing and chooses again. The unconscious simply reacts. The more often you choose again, the more your nervous system adjusts to the new frequency until eventually, collapsing into the higher version becomes as natural as breathing. That's the state science calls neural coherence, a harmonious alignment where your biology supports your highest vision without resistance. This is the culmination of the journey we've been walking together. It's not about becoming someone else, it's about remembering who you truly are beneath the layers of reaction and fear. It's about recognizing that your gaze is a compass, your breath is a reset button, and your presence is a force capable of rearranging the world. You are not here to endure the world as it is, but to shape it as it can be, through the simple, revolutionary act of how you choose to look. When you meet each moment with the quiet power of what you choose to see, the universe has no choice but to mirror that vision back to you. This is your birthright. This is your power, and it begins always with the next breath you take. You wake to the hush before the world returns, that sacred space where you are not yet the person the day demands. Your eyes are still closed, the weight of the blanket soft against your skin, and for a fleeting moment you exist in pure potential. No name, no worries, no yesterday's residue, just the quiet rhythm of your breath moving through the stillness. This is the threshold, my love. This is where everything begins and where everything can change. Most of us rush through it, grabbing our phones or our anxieties before we've even opened our eyes, collapsing back into the same old frequency we carried the day before. But what if you stayed here? What if, in that quiet pause, you chose to feel the life rising within you like the first light of dawn? Not as a thought, but as a sensation. Feel how the air moves through your lungs, how your body remembers the pulse of a universe being born. This is where you hold the power to choose who you will become today, not through force, but through the gentle alignment of your being. In that space, you don't need to picture a new version of yourself with perfect clarity. You don't need to wrestle with ideals or expectations. Just sense the energy of who you could be, how your breath might deepen, how your shoulders might soften, how your heart might settle into a steady, calm rhythm. Feel the quiet confidence in your gaze, the ease in your posture, the unshakable peace beneath your skin. Then, let your body move as that version would. Inhale as if you already carry that calm. Sit up as if you already embody that strength. Place your feet on the floor as if you're stepping into a world that reflects the peace within you. Each small movement, done with this awareness, sends a signal through your nervous system, a signal that says, "This is who I am now," and your body, wise and responsive, begins to listen. Hormones shift, heart rate steadies. The very chemistry of your being starts to reorganize, not because you willed it, but because you chose it in the space where reality is still fluid. This is conscious collapse, not forcing change, but allowing yourself to fall into the higher frequency you've already sensed within. It's the art of becoming what you've always been beneath the noise. When you practice this each morning, you're not just preparing for the day, you're retraining your body to live as the person you're meant to be. You're teaching your cells that peace is the default, not the exception. And when the mind inevitably pulls at you with old worries or familiar fears, your body will remember this deeper truth. It will know the difference between the old self, bound by worry and control, and the new self, guided by stillness and trust. This isn't about rejecting your past or denying your struggles. It's about remembering that you are so much more than the sum of your reactions. You are the quiet witness who sees the moment of collapsing, chooses again. Throughout your day, those moments of collapse will come. They always do. Someone speaks sharply, a plan unravels, your heart races with old fear. In that instant, you have a choice: fall back into the familiar pattern of reaction or pause, breathe. And in that breath, ask yourself not what should I do, but how does my truest self move through this? The difference between the conscious and the unconscious isn't the absence of difficulty, it's the awareness in the moment before you react. The unconscious person is swept away by the current, the conscious one feels the pull and chooses which direction to flow. Each time you choose again, you strengthen the neural pathways of your higher frequency. Each time, your nervous system adjusts a little more, until choosing peace over panic, clarity over confusion, becomes as natural as breathing. This is where transformation becomes effortless, not because life stops challenging you, but because you've trained your awareness to catch the tremors before they become earthquakes. You begin to notice the small moments, the way you reach for your phone, the expression in the mirror, the tension in your jaw as you drive. In each of these, you can ask, who is doing this? The anxious one? Or the calm one? The rushed one? Or the present one? That simple question is the spark of awakening. It cuts through the automatic reactions, reminding you that you are here, aware and free to choose. You don't need a special ritual or a quiet room. You need only this breath, this moment, a hand on your chest, a gentle smile that forms without reason, a deep inhale that says, I am choosing differently now. These are not small acts. They are profound recalibrations of your entire being. Each one sends a new signal through your nervous system, shifting the frequency you emit into the world. As you practice, you'll feel it happening. The shift comes faster. The return to center becomes instinctive. What once took minutes now takes seconds. What once felt like an effort becomes your natural rhythm, and in this state, everything changes. You no longer feel pulled into the storms of others' emotions. Instead, you become the calm at the center, the steady heartbeat in the chaos. Circumstances no longer shape you, you shape them with the quiet power of your presence. Life doesn't require you to control it, it asks only that you choose who will experience it. And when the one you choose is the clear, luminous version of yourself, the world begins to reflect that energy back to you. Opportunities arise with gentle precision, connections deepen with ease. Situations that once felt heavy now feel like lessons, light and instructive. This isn't magic, it's the natural law of resonance. Energy always meets energy. What you emit, you attract. When you vibrate at the frequency of peace, the world softens around you. When you radiate clarity, confusion falls away, and what aligns with your truth naturally comes closer. And here's the quiet truth that transforms everything: your vibration doesn't just change your world, it changes the world. You are not a separate drop in the ocean, you are the ocean itself, rippling outward. The human body is a living antenna, broadcasting an electromagnetic field that extends far beyond your skin. Your heart, the strongest center of this field, sends emotional signals to everyone around you before you speak a word. When you walk into a room, your energy has already spoken. When you're calm, others feel the space soften. When you're present, they feel seen. When you carry peace, they feel it settle in their bones. This is how you influence the world without effort, by becoming the frequency you wish to see. As you rise in your own vibration, the universe naturally rearranges itself around you. Some will feel drawn to your light, others will drift away, not because you've pushed them, but because resonance is a gentle filter. This may feel like loss at first, but it's not. it's liberation. You're not losing anyone, you're becoming clear enough to see who truly belongs in your new life. Every person in your orbit reflects the energy you're emitting. When you change, the reflection changes. You don't need to convince or persuade. You only need to hold your frequency. When you live in peace, others will either rise with you or step aside. Both are blessings. The universe doesn't take, it balances. And in that balance, you find your true companions, those who walk the same path of awakening. What most people never realize is that this ripple extends far beyond the people you know. Energy is non-local. It knows no borders. A single moment of choosing peace over anger sends a wave through the collective field, touching hearts you'll never meet. A quiet act of forgiveness, a breath held in stillness, contributes to the healing of a world that feels fractured. Scientists might name it morphic resonance, but you don't need a name for it. You feel it. When one person learns to move through fear with grace, it becomes easier for countless others to do the same. The frequency has been set. The path has been walked. Each time you choose awareness over reaction, you're not just transforming yourself, you're weaving a new pattern into the fabric of humanity. Each time you choose love, you're rewriting the data in the collective field, making love easier for everyone. This is why the truly awakened don't need to preach. They don't need to tell the world about peace. They simply are peace. And in their presence, something shifts. Tension eases. Breaths deepen. Hearts remember their own rhythm. Their silence speaks louder than any words. You can be that presence too. When your energy remains steady, you become an anchor in a world of constant motion. People feel safer around you, not because you fix anything, but because you embody a truth they've long forgotten, that peace is possible. Your presence becomes a quiet lamp, not shining on others, but reminding them of the light they carry within. No lessons, no theories, just the silent power of being fully, unapologetically alive in your truth. Once you understand this, transformation stops feeling personal. Every breath you take is an offering to the living web of life. When you inhale with intention, you help the entire system recalibrate. When you choose love in the face of fear, that wave travels through space, crossing oceans, touching hearts you'll never know. Even your silence carries a message that power doesn't need noise. That stillness is strength. And the world responds not with grand rewards, but with subtle refinements, opportunities that feel like they've been waiting for you. Connections that deepen without effort. Doors that open quietly because your energy now matches the frequency of expansion. Look closely, and you'll see it. Everything happens to maintain resonance. If something pulls you from peace, it's not a mistake, it's a gentle reminder to return to center. The collective field doesn't require perfection. It only asks for authenticity. Every time you stumble, just return. Every time you forget, just remember. Each choice toward love, no matter how small, lifts the frequency of humanity. You are never alone in this work. The universe is not a web of separation, but an ocean of unified energy. When one wave rises, the whole surface lifts. Your choices are not isolated ripples, they are the tide itself, pulling the whole ocean toward the shore of awakening. When you hold peace in the storm, you bring order to the chaos. When you live at a high frequency, you don't just heal yourself, you help the world remember how to vibrate in light. So never underestimate the quiet shifts within you. That moment you chose to breathe instead of react. That morning you paused in the silence before the world returned. That afternoon you smiled without reason, simply because you remembered who you are. These are the sacred acts that generate vast movements in the cosmos. They are the quiet revolution. They are the reclamation of your birthright. You were never meant to endure the world as it is. You were born to shape it as it can be, not through force, but through the revolutionary act of how you choose to meet each moment. Your gaze is a compass. Your breath is a reset. Your presence is a force capable of rearranging the world. This is your power, not in grand gestures, but in the next breath you take. Not in the future you chase, but in the choice you make right now. When you realize you are never obligated to be the person you were yesterday, you are free. Every morning is a rebirth. Every moment is a point of choice. And you, my darling, are the conscious observer who decides which universe will appear. Live this way, and you no longer strive to become. You simply choose it through feeling, through presence, through breath. And in each choice, you create your entire reality quietly, precisely, effortlessly, just as every quantum particle has always done. The world is not broken. It is waiting for you to remember your wholeness. So begin here. Begin now. With this breath, choose the frequency of your soul, and watch how the universe mirrors it back to you in ways you never imagined possible. There's a quiet revolution happening within you right now, a subtle shift in the way you meet the world, and it's rippling outward in ways you may not yet see. You've begun to understand that your presence isn't just personal, it's a current in a vast ocean of shared energy. When you choose stillness in the storm, when you breathe into discomfort instead of reacting, you're not just calming yourself. You're sending a signal into the fabric of everything, a frequency that whispers to others that peace is possible, that softness isn't weakness, that it's safe to unfold. This isn't mysticism, it's the natural law of resonance. When one heart finds its steady rhythm, it becomes easier for another to find its own. You've felt it before, the way a single calm voice in a room can ease the tension in every chest, how one person's quiet certainty can steady an entire space. That's the power you carry, not in grand proclamations, but in the simple, consistent act of being present where you are. Think of it like this: every time you choose awareness over autopilot, every time you soften where you once hardened, you're not just changing your own experience. You're weaving a new thread into the collective tapestry. The field around us is alive, responsive, and shaped by the choices we make in the quietest moments. When you forgive, not as a grand gesture, but as a quiet release within your own heart, you're not only freeing yourself, you're dissolving a tiny knot of resistance in the shared atmosphere we all breathe. It becomes easier for someone else, somewhere, to do the same. You don't need to preach it. You don't need to convince anyone. Your stillness speaks a language deeper than words. It's an invitation written in the space between your breaths, felt in the way your energy doesn't push against the world, but flows with it. This is how transformation truly happens, not through force, but through the gentle persistence of presence. You were never meant to be a fixed point in a shifting world. You were born to be fluid, to move between states as naturally as the tide. Some days, you'll feel like the warrior, strong, resolute, ready to meet challenge head-on. Other days, you'll need to be the healer, soft and open, tending to wounds within or around you. And there will be moments when the only true strength is to be still, to let the world move around you while you hold the center. This isn't inconsistency, it's your birthright. Your essence isn't a rigid shape, but a living current of energy, capable of taking any form without losing its core. When you stop fighting the parts of yourself that feel contradictory, the strength and the tenderness, the fire and the calm, stop dividing your power. You stop exhausting yourself trying to fit into one role. Instead, you begin to flow. And in that flow, something remarkable happens. Resistance dissolves. You move through life not as a person pushing against the current, but as the current itself. This is where true freedom lives, not in becoming someone perfect, but in realizing you already contain every version of yourself. The moment you stop trying to fix or hide the lesser parts, you stop feeding the illusion of separation. That anger you carry, it's not your enemy, it's a signal, a call to feel deeper. That fear, it's not a weakness, it's a doorway to courage. When you stop rejecting these parts, you stop draining energy from the whole. Instead of battling shadows, you learn to let them dance with the light. And suddenly, the energy that was once trapped in resistance becomes available for creation. You move through life with a new ease, as if your body itself remembers how to glide without friction. It's not that life becomes effortless, it's that your relationship to effort transforms. You don't strive, you allow. You don't force outcomes, you trust the rhythm of what's unfolding. This is the state of superposition in motion, not choosing between opposites, but holding them both, knowing that only by embracing the full spectrum of your being can you become truly whole. When you live like this, the world responds in kind. You don't need to chase opportunities, they find their way to you. Connections form effortlessly. Doors that seemed locked open without a knock. Not because you're doing anything different outwardly, but because your inner frequency has shifted. You've become a magnet for what aligns with who you are now. And when something pulls you out of this flow, a comment that stings, A situation that triggers old patterns, it's not a failure. It's a gentle nudge back to center. A reminder that you're still learning to trust the peace within you. The collective field doesn't need you to be flawless, it needs you to be authentic. It needs you to fall and rise and fall again, each time choosing to return. Every time you do, you send a wave of hope through the whole. You prove that it's possible to begin again, right here, in this breath. This is the quiet magic of your choices, they're never small. When you choose to breathe deeply in a moment of stress, you're not just calming your own nervous system. You're sending a wave of calm into the web of life, touching hearts you'll never know. When you choose kindness over judgment, even silently, you're reshaping the energy around you. It crosses borders, ignores language, and finds its way to those who need it most. You don't need to speak of love to be a vessel for it. You simply need to live from it, and when you do, your very presence becomes a sanctuary. People feel it before they see it, a sense of safety, of being seen without expectation. You don't have to try to be this. You just have to allow yourself to be, to stop apologizing for your light, to stop dimming yourself so others feel more comfortable. Your unapologetic wholeness is the greatest gift you can offer the world. Remember this: you are not here to escape life, but to illuminate it. Not to transcend the ordinary, but to discover the sacred within it. When you drink water, feel the life-giving current moving through you. When you walk, feel the earth's pulse beneath your feet. When you look into another's eyes, see the same spark that lives within you. No separation, no distance, just the same energy wearing different faces. This is the essence of living as a quantum being, knowing that the boundary between you and the world is an illusion. Everything is connected, not by wires or words, but by the same vibrant current. You don't own anything because nothing truly belongs to anyone. You don't fear loss because nothing ever truly leaves, it only changes form. In this awareness, you stop grasping, stop clinging, stop fighting the natural flow. And in that release, you find a profound clarity. You stop asking, "Who am I?" because you realize the answer isn't found in words, but in the way you move through the world. You become the question lived, not answered. This is the summit, not a place of final arrival, but a state of being where you no longer search for the path. You become the path itself. Every step you take opens a new universe of awareness. You don't need to prove your worth, you simply embody it. You don't need to impress anyone, your presence is enough. And when you reach this space, your stillness speaks louder than any declaration. People feel safe with you not because you fix their pain, but because your energy reminds them of their own resilience. You don't set out to love the world, but you are love expressed in the way you listen, in the space you hold, in the quiet strength of your being. This is the ultimate freedom, to know you are both the observer and the creator, the wave and the ocean. So here's the invitation, not as a demand, but as a whisper from one soul to another tomorrow morning. Before the world rushes in, before your mind grasps for the familiar pause. Feel the space behind your closed eyes. Feel the weight of your body on the bed. This is where your choice begins. Will you reach for the noise of yesterday, or will you choose the stillness of now? Will you collapse into the same old story, or will you step into the version of yourself that's been waiting to be born? This choice isn't about perfection, it's about intention. It's about the smallest shift of breath. A pause, a quiet yes to presence. And when you make it, something inside you realigns. You remember your power not as something you earn, but as something you are. This is the conscious collapse, the moment you stop being moved by momentum and start moving from the center of your being. You don't need to do it all at once. Transformation isn't a single leap, it's 1,000 tiny choices, each one a gentle return. You'll forget, you'll react, you'll stumble back into old patterns. And that's okay. The practice isn't about never falling, it's about how quickly you return. Each time you catch yourself, each time you pause before reacting, you strengthen the neural pathways of awareness. You teach your body that peace is safe. You remind yourself that stillness isn't passivity, it's the deepest form of power. This is how you build the new world, one conscious breath at a time, one gentle choice after another. You don't have to be the one to change everything, you only have to change how you meet the moment. And in doing so, you change everything. The old self is already dissolving, not because I'm telling you it is, but because you've already seen yourself differently. You've glimpsed the truth that you're not confined to one fixed state. That quantum shift has already occurred within you, just by being here, by listening, by opening to the possibility of fluidity. The question now is whether you'll nurture that new frequency. Will you return to it when the world pulls you back into reaction? Will you trust the pause? Will you choose awareness in the gap between stimulus and response, knowing that in that space lies your freedom? You don't need to be perfect. You just need to choose more often than you forget. And when you forget, you simply begin again. That's the entire practice. That's the quantum leap we've all been searching for, not out there in some future achievement, but right here in the stillness between what happens and how you respond. This is how you become the change. Not by waiting for the world to shift, but by shifting your relationship to it. When you live from this space, you don't just heal yourself, you become a living reminder that healing is possible for everyone. You become the quiet lamp in the darkness, not because you're special, but because you've dared to let your own light shine unafraid. And in that light, others see their own reflection. They feel the permission to unfold. This is the true meaning of awakening, not to rise above the world, but to illuminate it from within, making it a little less dark, a little less afraid, a little less divided simply by being the presence you were born to be. So breathe. Feel the power in your hands, the wisdom in your stillness, the vastness of your potential. You are not a drop in the ocean. You are the ocean itself, wearing the shape of a woman, here to remember its own depth. And in this remembering, you change everything. That sacred pause between what happens and how you respond, this is where your power lives, not in some distant future victory, but in the quiet courage of this very breath. It's here, in the stillness you choose, that you stop waiting for the world to change and become the change itself. When you stand in this space, you don't just heal your own wounds, you become a living testament that healing is possible. You become the calm harbor in the storm, not because you're perfect, but because you've dared to hold space for your own light without apology. And in that light, others glimpse their own reflection. They feel the unspoken invitation to soften, to unfold, to remember who they truly are. This is awakening, not escaping the world, but illuminating it from within, making it less heavy, less fractured, simply by embodying the presence you were born to carry. Feel it now, the strength in your hands, the ancient wisdom in your quiet, the boundless potential humming beneath your skin. You are not a single drop lost in the vast sea. You are the ocean itself, wearing the shape of a woman, here to remember its own depth through your very being. And in that remembering, you shift everything. The old self is already dissolving, not because words tell you so, but because you've witnessed yourself differently just by being present here, by allowing the possibility that you are more than one fixed version of yourself. That shift has already begun. The real question now is whether you'll hold the space for it to flourish. Will you nurture this new awareness when tomorrow's first light touches your eyelids? Will you pause before reaching for the familiar distractions, before letting yesterday's weight settle back onto your shoulders? Will you choose, in that tender moment of returning to consciousness, the version of yourself that's been waiting patiently within, the one who knows her worth, isn't tied to productivity or perfection? This is where transformation lives, not in grand gestures, but in the 1,000 tiny choices woven into the fabric of your day. Each time you breathe into the space before reacting, each time you choose calm over the reflex of fear, each time you remind your body that peace is safe, you plant a seed of a new reality. You teach yourself that openness isn't weakness, and stillness isn't surrender. It's the deepest form of strength. You don't need to be flawless. You simply need to choose the higher path more often than you forget it. And when you forge it and you will, there is no failure, only the gentle return. The chance to begin again, right there in the next breath. This is the practice. This is the path. This is the quantum leap we've all been seeking, not out there in some distant achievement, but here, in the sacred gap between what happens and how you respond. In the pause, in the breath, in the space where you decide who you will be. Your presence alone becomes the sanctuary others long for. You don't have to try to influence or prove your worth When you live from this centered place, you simply are love, and that love naturally radiates outward. People feel safe with you because your field has become a refuge. You don't seek the light, you embody it. And in that embodiment, you create ripples far beyond what you can see. This is how we change the world, not by fighting the darkness, but by becoming the light. Not by resisting the old patterns, but by stepping fully into the new one. Not by waiting for circumstances to shift, but by shifting the very lens through which you see them. You stand at the doorway now. Behind you, the old self is fading, dissolving like mist in the sun. Before you, the higher self waits not as a distant ideal, but as the truth of who you are becoming. And between them, in this single moment, lies everything. This breath, this choice, the power to step through. Release your grip on who you were. Let go of the need to carry the weight of past versions. Step fully into the woman you're remembering how to be. Not someday, not when the timing feels perfect, but right here, in the raw honesty of now. With this next breath, choose awareness. Choose presence. Choose the version of yourself that knows her power is inherent, unshakable. Watch as the world around you subtly reorganizes itself to mirror the new frequency you're holding. The moment you opened your heart to this truth, the old story began to collapse. Now, let it go. Trust the unfolding. You don't need to cling to the familiar for safety. Your stillness is your safety. Your awareness is your strength. You are not alone in this. Every time you choose the higher path, you create a subtle resonance that gives others permission to do the same. We are not isolated islands, changing only our own tides. We are part of a vast, living ocean of consciousness. When one wave rises, it lifts the whole sea. Your courage to embody peace, to live from love, to honor your own stillness, it sends a signal that ripples outward, strengthening the field for all of us. This is how we raise the frequency of the world, not through force, but through the quiet, daily practice of choosing who we wish to be. So carry one word with you, not a word that describes where you've been, but a word that declares where you're going. Let it be a quiet promise to yourself, a gentle anchor for your spirit, a word like courage, grace, flow, light. Let it live in your heart, a beacon guiding you back to your center when the world feels loud. This word is your inner compass, your energetic signature in the vast field of possibility. It whispers to your soul, this is who I choose to be today. The universe isn't waiting for you to be ready. It's already reflecting the frequency you hold. Every conscious choice, every breath taken in awareness, every moment you choose the higher self over the old this is how you create your reality. It's not about perfection, it's about practice. It's about showing up, again and again, in the micro moments that build the life you're called to live. You are the observer, the chooser, the gentle force reshaping your world from the inside out. You've always been this powerful. The only thing left is to remember it deeply and fully, in the quiet spaces between your thoughts. So breathe. Feel the vastness within you. The ocean doesn't strive to be the ocean, it simply is. You don't need to become the light, you are the light, wearing the shape of a woman, here to illuminate the world simply by remembering your own brilliance. Step through the doorway. Let the old collapse. Embrace the stillness where the new is born. And watch, with quiet wonder, as everything changes, not because the world shifted, but because you did. Because that's all it ever took. Now go, one conscious breath at a time, and create the world that only you can see. Your presence is the revolution. Your awareness is the dawn.